Before we get started, a really warm thank you to our partners on this webinar, the Goethe Center in Yerevan, who are our main partner and sponsor, and also to Creative Europe Armenia, who are our technical support and sponsor for the webinar. Also, thank you to Khachika Dunyan, our interpreter, who will be busy over the next couple of hours. And without further ado, let me introduce our Dienacht team. So Dienacht Publishing is a Leipzig-based photo book publisher and magazine with extensive experience in leading workshops on how to make photo books, as well as curating photo and photo book exhibitions. Dienacht and Dienacht Publishing have received several awards for their publications by the Best German Photo Book Awards, Best Books of the Year, Shortlist at the Paris Photo, Aperture Award, and a range of lead awards. Our panelists are Colin Cruz, who is the Dienacht founder and editor. He's a photographer, a curator, a lecturer, and he leads workshops around the world on photo book design and portfolio reviews. We also have Jana Cruz, who is the editor and curator at Dienacht since 2018. She studied philology and worked for several years as a photography curator at the Lumière Brothers Center for Photography in Moscow. So without further ado, I will pass over the mic to Colin and Jana, and looking forward to today's presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for the introduction and also for the invitation to this webinar. Yeah, I'll talk about a little bit about Dienacht and how everything started, and we'll switch, like sometimes I say something about the books, sometimes Jana will say something, and we'll talk about our common projects. So Dienacht means the night, and I started as a one-man project when I was still studying. I studied graphic design in two different cities in Leipzig, in Germany, and I chose this name because I think the night is very inspiring. It's a very inspiring time of the day somehow, and you see things that you won't see during the day. I don't know. You see wild animals in the city. You see hidden things. You see it's just a completely different mood. And for me, it was very inspiring. And this is why Dienacht is meant to be something that inspires people, other people as well. And just a bit. And yeah, so Dienacht actually started while I was during my studies. I studied graphic design, and I started to deal with photography. And I actually missed a kind of magazine that shows only portfolios. What I knew, there were magazines which used to show, I don't know, like a lot of technique or a lot of, I don't know, showing reports about festivals, which are also interesting, but I actually missed something that really shows works. And then, since I'm a very visual person, I really lacked this, so I just decided to do it myself. So just as an overview, Dienacht is a three-headed night creature, and we'll talk a little bit about everything, just about magazine very quickly. Dienacht magazine was found in 2017. This was the first issue of the magazine. It's a very small format, so it's kind of a A5, something like this. And it was meant to show works of people who I personally like. So it also was a personal magazine and a personal collection of portfolios, of which some of them were really brand new. Some of them were old. There were portfolios from well-known people, from students, from totally not well-known people. So it was really a very personal selection from the very beginning. And Dienacht was a very personal project. And yeah, since I was studying graphic design, I also designed everything myself. So it was really a one-man project from the very beginning. Dienacht was published 2 times a year, and from time to time, I used to publish special issues, like with Schule, which is a quite kind of well-known photo school in Berlin. a special issue with Polish photographers with these 5 different covers, and a special issue with Nigerian photographers, also in collaboration with Goethe Institute in Lagos in Nigeria. And yeah, this is the last issue, which was published a while ago. It's kind of on standby right now, but yeah, we still plan to publish the magazine. While I was publishing the magazine, I thought that actually just publishing a magazine is not enough. So I start with publishing photo-books, and the very idea from the beginning is that every single book has a like certain language, so I try to see the book as a medium for photographic works, as well as exhibition is a medium for photographic works. And I also realized that sometimes, yeah, an exhibition is not the right language for a series or for a body of work. So basically, it's what I try to also do is not to show the works as a portfolio. A photographic work is, a book is not about showing your portfolio. It's not about showing your best pictures. A book is really showing and creating a mood, or showing an overview of a certain series, but it's not something that shows what you can. And also, this is also what we tell people in our workshops, that it's not about choosing your favorite pictures and putting them in a portfolio. Sometimes they also need to be Wiki pictures, or sometimes need to be pictures that go together with other kind of other photographs. So in the end, I think everything is a choice. So everything is a decision in terms of photo books. I mean, when you create an exhibition, you also decide what kind of you also take decisions. You decide what kind of paper you use for your pictures. What kind of, is it matte? Is it glossy? Is the colored paper? Is it metallic paper? Is it? I mean, you choose the size. Is it with the passport 2? Is it full bleed? Is it? So there are a lot of choices also about the frame. So do you use glass? What kind of frame do you use? What color? What material? Is it wood? Is it metallic? Is it plastic, and so on? So is it without a frame? And the same way, you also choose pictures for a book, and you also choose materials for a book. So everything that you choose, and every decision is a language that carries your photography, basically. So the paper is very important. Does it need to be glossy or matte or natural, or does it need to be white? The binding, is it like hardcover? Is it soft cover? Is it thread binding? So everything has a meaning, and we try to pay attention to everything. The materials, I mean, not just the paper and the cover, but also you can also use other materials inside. You can use wood, you can use concrete, you can use everything. So everything is possible. And this is how we try to approach our book publishing, and also our workshops as well. Everything is possible, and you should always start from zero when you start a new project. The sound. So sometimes books can also create a certain sound. So they have a certain, when you flip to the pages, or you can use materials that create a certain sound. The weight, how does it feel like? The weight of the paper, the weight of the book. Is it? I mean, if you use a very thin paper, for example, it also can like put some accents on the pictures, or create a certain mood, or also the softness of the book object. So what we try to do is creating book objects in the end. And we also try to find a language for every single book we publish, and also language for every single dummy we make in our workshops, but we'll talk about it later. we are going to show some books published by Dienacht Publishing from the beginning, and afterwards also some other book published by other publishers, just to show some other examples. But yeah, this is the first book that we published with Dienacht. It's Dead Traffic by Kim Tu, and the story of the publishing was in that I showed Kim's work in the magazine, in Dienacht magazine, and I know that he went to Sierra Leone for I think like 4 months, and he photographed there, and he come back. He showed me the works, and I showcased the works in the magazine, and then I knew that he'd go back for another 6 months. And when he came back, he showed me his works again, and yeah, I thought there are so many good works, and there are so many. There's just such a huge amount that actually it's not a work for a magazine. Again, I think it's about finding the right medium from every kind of work, and I think his work was made for a book just because of the enormous amount of pictures and the quality of the pictures. So we decided to make the book. This was the first book published by Dienacht, and this black square that you rectangle that you see on the cover is, I hope you can see it in the small window. It's sorry, let me just go back. So it's very used, and it also it was meant to be used from the very beginning. So it was black, but it got scratches. So it's kind of black foil on top of this canvas. And actually, I want to have this foil up to the edge. So I want to also have this black thing on the edge. Actually, it's not possible because the foil just stops where the book stops, right? So I asked the printer. So the book was published in an edition of 1,000 copies, and I asked the printer what is possible to do. And and the printer said, okay, we can paint this edge by hand, like book by book. So this also was one of the first things where I realized, okay, actually it's possible to do all kind of these small gadgets. You know, it's just that it's a matter of time and money as well, but everything is possible. And I think what also plays a big role is here is the paper of the book, which is kind of cream, warm paper, and it's you know, it transports the feeling in a way. So it's not a journalistic book. It's more like a very personal book. This guy lived there for 10 months with the people in this ghetto, basically, and he photographed them. It's a very personal book. He doesn't want to say, okay, this is how it looks like there. It just a very personal story. And we also had an exhibition when we released the book. It was a great exhibition in a big gallery in Hamburg, in Germany, and the prints were great. They were like, I don't know, 50 by 70 centimeters, so really huge prints. And I also realized that, yeah, I mean, it was a great exhibition, but in the book you still have you have these pairings, you know, of that create images in your mind. So you have the paper, you have the mood, you have a certain rhythm. In an exhibition, you don't really, I mean, of course, you can go through, you can lead visitors in a certain direction, but you cannot tell them how to look at the images, but you can tell them with the medium of the book in a certain way.
All right, so I'll go on. So as Anna has already said, I joined Dienacht in 2018. So after a while, and this was the first project that we did together with Kalin. The book is called Rebel Riders, and it's a book of Indonesian photographer, Muhammad Fadli. And it's a book of amazing people's creativity. The idea is that those guys that you're going to see, they turned Italian Vespas, and in specifically they took engines out of Italian Vespas and turned them into something never imagined actually by Piaggio. They turned them into very specific DIY motorcycles. That's why they're kind of called extreme Vespas there. It is a huge community in Indonesia, and it's typical only of this region. So, and they actually ride those Vespas. They have a lot of festivals. They have contests for the best design and many other things. So it is a very kind of underground and at the same time very famous thing there, but very local. So in this way, this is also for us Dienacht, something that is hidden, something that is not that well known, something underground, something that is still not that exposed. Now that we published that book, practically at the same time, there were several media covering this amazing scene from Indonesia, like BBC and CNN, and French media actually got very interested in this topic as well. So somehow now, maybe also for the people who are more or less interested in this type of scene, they know it, but back then it was still very fresh and unthinkable how these people managed to drive this crazy scooters made of actually, as you can see, skulls. They're made of skeletons, they're made of trash, they're made of metal, they're made of wood, anything you can imagine. So it's a very DIY project, but we went for pretty classical, as you see, like on the left, book, hardcover book, because the pictures themselves are really quiet. They're filmed with, they're taken with middle format camera. They're all squares. It is very clean, very quiet, very neat photography, but we still wanted it to have this DIY touch. Yes, and also the thing is that, of course, this is a huge community in Indonesia, and none of those guys could actually afford this book, which is not very expensive, but still. And the photographer really wanted to have something that would be possible for those guys from the community to have. And so we came up with an idea to have this kind of index, a newspaper that you see behind the book, which is part of the book at the back. So you don't actually see it when you get the book, but then you open, and at the back of the book you find it, and you can open it up and see those pictures again in a bit different layout, and also with handwritten titles and some stories behind who those guys are, where they live, how they travel. There are a lot of stories behind. And actually, it is a big edition, 1,000 copies, which is not always the case with us. And we printed 1,000 more extra copies of this newspaper or index and send it to Indonesia. And this part, just this newspaper, is distributed there for free, so that everybody from the community could get it and maybe just take it apart and enjoy. And another part of the book is those stickers that you see on the right, and we actually got those designs of the stickers of the community from the photographer Muhammad Fadli, and we just printed them here, and they also make part of the book, and they're, as you can see here, they're here behind this triangular. So this was our first. Okay, here are some pictures of the newspaper, as you can see, with stories. And also at the back of the book, there is this symbol that they usually have, this very rock and roll Motorola symbol. Yeah, so even though it is kind of a classical book that you might imagine, okay, what is a photo book? Yes, it is this, but we're really excited about going further and expanding the possibilities of the photo books. And I think that the main logic of our presentation now that we talk about photo books, is that we would try somehow to go from something more classical to more experimental and wild, to somehow broaden maybe your idea of what a book is, what a photo book is, because it can be more as a sculpture, it can have sounds and feelings, and it is more than just a very traditional book that one might imagine. Another book that was published by Dienacht, and this actually was shortlisted by Paris Photo Aperture Award. I don't remember, like back 6 years ago, something like this. This is a very small edition. There's just 200 copies. And it is a book about a fight club in Berlin, a female fight club in Berlin. Again, it's a very kind of specific topic, underground topic. This fight club got quite famous among like mostly men watching how women fight. And the idea was actually to print, as you see, pictures not on white paper, but on paper which has a kind of flesh color. Flesh, because there is a lot of flesh and body in these black and white pictures, so they're black and white. And another important thing about the book is that there are this, to highlight the idea of this wrestling, there are these bumps for printing every picture. So there is a bump here and a bump here, and all the pictures are also inside, like they are embossed, yes, to give this feeling that it's about smashing, it's about pushing. And another thing that also supports the topic is actually this elastic strap that you can see here. I just show it in a small screen. So basically when you get the book, you have it like this, yeah? So you have to do like that. And this also highlights the idea that, so the topic is about kind of wrestling each other, like hugging. So there are so many ways to support the idea, so many ways to go creative, yes, with a kind of a book format. And actually this also has a sound, yeah, which is kind of a slap at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of print runs, we have very, very different print runs. So the biggest one is, I think, 1,250 copies, and the smallest one is 10 copies. I published a book which were in an edition of 10 copies every year for, I think, 5 years in a row. So it also, again, it's also a little bit about the language, and also about, okay, is it a big project, is it a small project, is it a handmade project? So it really, it differs from book to book. Nocturnes was actually the biggest project until now. It was the second book I published after the traffic while I was still studying, and it also was a huge financial risk for me. We usually publish in Germany, so we can also go to the printer and check the printing and so on. So yeah, it was a huge project, and it's with 6 photographers who are in a group. So it's called IN projects. And I approached them, I asked if they want to publish a book together. And when I saw the works, actually it was clear very fast that it won't be one book with all 6 photographers. I think that every photographer needs a certain paper, a certain binding, and so on. So there are 6 different books. Every single book is printed on a different paper. Like there's a glossy paper, there's a very thin paper, there's a paper with a structure, which you can see here a little bit. There are different bindings, and there's also a book which consists of a poster, which you can fold out. And there's a book printed on a very very matte paper that also absorbs the color in order to what's the word?
To support?
Yeah, to support photographers' works. And for example, this one is a very thin paper. I think it's just 50 grams. So every book has a certain character, and I keep the text out of the book. So I decided I just switched to the picture again. So I decided to have the text on the slipcase, basically. So you can open it. And here you have the name of the photographers and the imprint. And there's a little text written with silkscreen, white silkscreen on black paper. It's not necessarily a text about the book, but it's more like kind of poem or kind of mood of the book and so on. So this is the way I somehow decided not to have any text in the book itself. And also the books are just a little bit different, just because they, like, if you look from the side, you can see Nocturnes. And so you see here a little bit, here you see a little bit more of the typo, here even more, and so on. So there's a bit of a difference, and they all work. I mean, you can only read Nocturnes if they're in the right order. And one more small thing, is that the cover is printed in Nocturne, in a silk screen, and this Nocturne is printed in phosphorescent silk screen. So it means that if it's loaded, it glows in the dark, just because it suits the topic. This is also kind of very early book. I think was the 3rd or the 4th one I published. And this is also very small printer, I think 40 copies, but it's not a typical book. It's in a box, and actually there are single prints. And it made sense to make single prints, because the story is the photographer Claudia Eschborn, she walked the path of Albrecht Dürer. Albrecht Dürer is an artist who lived in the 14th century, I think. And he walked his path through the Netherlands between 1520 and 1521. And she recreated his path through her own pictures. And sometimes she would have series, like with large format camera, series of 3. Sometimes there are 2 pictures, but sometimes there are also 6 pictures, or even more on the one side. On the other side, you also have this Polaroids, which also have different numbers, Polaroids from the same scene, basically, or from the surrounding. For example, these pictures are made in the same area as these pictures. So it made sense in that moment to not to make a book the binding. And many people ask, okay, but is it still a book because it has no binding? And for me, it is a book. It's also just because, I mean, it is a project, and just putting it together, it makes it to a book.
Yeah, another project that I dearly love is a project of a Russian photographer, Katya Anokhina. It's called Inner Mongolia, and well, basically it has nothing to do geographically with Mongolia. It is a quote from Pelevin saying something like, Inner Mongolia is not called that because it is inside Mongolia, it is inside anyone who can see the void. Yeah. So it's about an emotional state. Dienacht, Kalin back then published 2 different editions. This is a very small edition, like 100 copies. And first edition was gray, as you see on the left, and the second edition was on a kind of beige or sandy paper. And actually, both of them work very well. The pictures are sort of very kind of all black and white, pale, with a very little contrast. And the gray edition highlights a kind of coal feeling, yes, from the pictures, that the material that you can also see there. And the second edition, which was on this beige sandy paper, also has this sandy touch. So this kind of, it was a reprint, the second edition, yes, but the choice was made for different paper, which added another touch to the project. Yeah. And the important thing I wanted to show is that, no, I don't need that actually. Could you, yeah. So on the previous, how do you go to previous page? Yeah, so at the back of the book, you see an envelope, which is made of, how do you call this? A pergament paper, yeah. And when you take it out, you can hear the sound. And this sound is also seems like something that belongs to this area. So when you take the book, every time you take the book in your hands, you also have an audio feeling from it. And the text about the book a bit, and the title and some imprint is also just printed on the cover, yes, on this envelope. So I think Kalin has a tendency to hide the text. So the pictures mostly spoke about themselves, yes, in their own right. And somehow I understand it and support it. And somehow you might notice it throughout many of the books that he has already made, until this is not an exception. So the sound thing is really super charming, that can also be introduced inside the book. All right. Yeah, the book that I totally love, and I think it's one of Dienacht's most sought after books. now that it is absolutely, like since long ago, sold out. I don't know, at the auctions you can find it for some enormous prices, like, I don't know, €1,000, something like this. Back then it cost something like 60 or 50, which is quite a common price for the photo book. So it's a book by very important Chinese photographer who actually tragically passed away several years ago in Berlin. He was a very free, he had a very free approach to photography, especially you know, for Chinese, a very conservative society, and he was somehow emotionally kind of psychologically repressed in his China, and he wasn't comfortable living there, so he spent a lot of time in Europe, but he still lived there. And he has a very special approach to photography, which is now mimicked by many other photographers, but he was the first, and he was a big star back then, and he still is. Yeah. And this book was made together with the Ostlicht Gallery in Vienna, especially for the exhibition in Ostlicht. So it was a book and a kind of catalog. And the idea, again, was since his pictures are very sort of performative, I'll show some. So each picture is a sort of performance. It's he pictures mostly his friends, just having fun. Mostly these are nude pictures. Guys, young guys are just hanging out. These are kind of acrobatic forms, and something in the nature as well. And it's not that there is a certain narrative, yes, that you need to tell the story in a certain sequence. So the idea was to have each picture has its own spread and has its own space. And eventually it turned into actually a set of posters totally unbound. So the only binding that you can see is this banderole, yes, on the left, that when you take it out, you get actually a huge, like 50 centimeters, right, high posters. So each poster can be taken out. You can put it on your shelf or anything. So it's still like the biggest book he had, and the quality of pictures is great. And it is, again, still a book. And the thing also, an amazing thing here is that somehow pictures, as you can see here, yes, so there are spread pictures like that. And sometimes you can see the full picture, like here, yes, and sometimes you can see like here. Sometimes you can see half picture, like here. And it's amazing. It was a sort of coincidence. It was not meant to be that. So pictures were not adjusted, but when these different pictures confront each other on the same spread, they in a way merge inside each other. You can see it here, you can see here, and this spread creates another kind of picture, which you don't know by Renhang. And this way, this book actually recontextualizes his work, which I find totally amazing, and I'm a big lover of the book. Okay, the next book is by Ukrainian duo. It was, the pictures were made in Ukraine from 2010 to 2015. So it was made actually before the revolution, during the revolution, and after the revolution. So the book has 3 chapters. The first chapter is before the revolution, which is printed, all these chapters are again printed on different paper to highlight the character of pictures or the mood of the photography. So this is printed on kind of yellowish, old looking paper. The second part, which is the revolution itself, which is shot in Kiev, it is printed on glossy paper. It is full bleed, so that it gives you a very emotional feeling, like as if you are watching like the TV screen, yes, without kind of any borders, and very contrasty. And the last part might not be easy to see here, but this is the Donetsk and Lugansk region, so after the revolution. And the paper is actually filled with small dusty structures, as if something is destroyed, or something maybe is blown up, and you see the particles on the fabric. The exciting thing about this book is also the cover. So you see this chronicle, the title of the book. And since this is the book about the conflict, so it also actually smells like conflict. So this title was made by laser cutting, which means a laser machine which heats a lot. It takes time to cut this title, and the idea was actually to cut it very slowly so that you can see the burn signs around. So these burn signs are always different from book to book, and so it was specifically controlled to be made very slowly so you can see the burns, otherwise you don't see any burns. And after you unpack the fresh book, you can actually smell this burning, and this really greatly supports the idea of the project.
Useful advice for photographers is a kind of fun project. I mean, all books are fun, of course, but this in particular, it's by a Latvian photographer, and Ivars Kravlejs, and it was actually, I think it was his diploma work. And basically he shows what's right and what's wrong. I mean, how you can photograph in a right way and in a wrong way, and everything is, of course, is highly arguable. Like, you know, it's better to photograph clouds when there are clouds, or, you know, before you start photographing, remember to take the landscape off. So things that every photographer, you know, knows, but also know how to photograph kids, or, you know, but of course there are no rules for photography, at least not nowadays. But I think back then when he did his diploma work, there were strict rules like what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And this is somehow a project that he used to make fun of it.
Yeah, I think it's also that still a lot of people still teach how to photograph and what's right and what's not. It's not that, yeah. So I think it's still actual, because if you go to some courses, and I think our viewers know that, you still get this type of advice that you can find here. So it's very ironic.
Yeah. I mean, also sometimes there are really obviously ironic pictures, like, you know, how to photograph a sausage in a 45-degree angle. But in the end, I think it's more like a fun project, and that's also why. And we try to do this fun in the form of the photo book, which is, you know, it's this plastic cover. The title is seal screened on the cover, so it's without the cover has no type on it, and it's also for, you know, you put it around your neck and you walk around it. So if you don't know something how to photograph, you can check all times. So it was also kind of not huge edition. I think 500 copies, but it was very cheap. So of course everyone can also afford it. I think it was like €12. So it was it was a very it was funny project. And also on fairs, people also used to buy more, like a couple of copies, also to give it away to friends and so on. And one more thing about it, the cover is gold because we also said, okay, it's the new gold standard for photographers. This is one of my books. So I'm also a photographer, and sometimes I self-publish books in small edition usually. This is a very small book in an edition of 20 copies, and which is printed on different papers. The first part is printed on a silver paper, just black on a silver paper, and the second part is basically just like gray paper, and there are photos, like real photographs, glued on the paper. So there are only 20 copies. It was a lot of hand work to do this, but it was it was fun, and it was also just in the end you have this small piece of something which is which can be seen in the photographs themselves. So you can see these details, these grasses, or this this materials in the photographs themselves. And it's there's no imprint, there's nothing, there's just my name and title and so on, and written. So we also do small editions, and it's also just because, I mean, if you print a big book, we used to pay everything ourselves, so to finance everything ourselves, and you cannot print a lot then during a year. So that's why I actually prefer to print also small editions, which maybe don't cost a lot, but to stay creative in this way. Kama, it's another book by me, which was an edition of 20 copies, 200 copies, sorry. And it was printed with gold on black paper. And also it has this wire binding, handmade binding. And actually the way I saw this printing technique, it's called Riso, it's that I saw it on a fair, and I got inspired to make this book. So I thought, okay, this printing technique deserves really strange pictures. And it's, in the end, it's a very strange book, I think, of a collection of pictures that actually don't belong together, like pieces of, this kind of skeletons or stones or yeah, just strange pictures. And it's, as I said, it's a handmade, and you also have a small print. I'll just show, which is hidden in the cover. So you have two prints, one at the front and one on the back, just as a small gadget. And this is the last book that we published, Christopher de Bethune, Invisible Ways. It's a Belgian photographer who we published two other books with him before. And it's a very personal project and a very soft book, very light in a way, but also heavy. And the special thing about this book is also the printing, which is the cover is printed with silver on very dark gray paper. And we also have this booklet inside, which is also on silver paper. And there's a print going with the book. So it's, in a way, it's a simple project. I think it's a beautiful photography and a beautiful project. Yes. I also want to show some photo books made by other publishers or self-published, just to show what else is possible. I think Anita Singh, I think she's an Indian photographer. And why I show this project is because it shows very well somehow that how a book turns into an object. So the book itself turns into the exhibition. You can take this book out and exhibit it on the wall. And this is also the way she does it through this Leporello. Or so it becomes an object in space or a sculpture. This is another project by Alexine Chanel, and I think the idea is, it's called In Other People's Bathrooms, and the idea is that she photographs herself in other people's bathrooms, so it's kind of selfies, and yeah, the bathroom is actually a very intimate place, a very safe space, and she shows this book without any proper binding, so I think it's just a screw which holds the book together, so we can open it like a sun. Yeah, like sun, yeah. I think this is also a very interesting project by Kosuko Okahara. It's called Venetian Existence. It's a Japanese photographer, and he photographed. He made three completely different books out of the same project. So this book is a very, I mean, it's Japanese binding. It's beautifully made, but it's kind of, let's say, standard format. Yeah, so classical format. This book is actually a very long roll of paper showing the images in a wooden box. And this book has a huge format. I think it's 1770 by 100 centimeters, not sure. But he made, I think, an edition of 2 or 3 copies only. It's the same project, just in different formats. And it's also about finding different languages for the same project.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't need to choose, you can make 3.
Yeah. This project is not a photographic project necessarily, so it's by an African artist who made a book about his mother, and his mother was a sculptor. So he made it's kind of catalog of her sculptures, and the book itself is a sculpture, and he also did it as a spider in the shape of the spider, because she said that, okay, this is the same, you know, spiders are very careful how they build their home and how they move and how they so it has to do with this carefulness that also his mother had for her sculptures. This is a self-published book by Sergej Gutuc, he was a skateboarder, and he did a book about skateboarding. I think most of his books or zines are about skateboarding, but this is very, I think it's a very nice idea to put a book on a broken skateboard. So you can so these are also screws from the skateboard, and he would also really take care of the shape of the broken skateboard. So in that way, also every book looks in a different way, has a different character. Yeah. And another really interesting project is this package of cigarettes, Until Death Do Us Part, and it's made with found pictures, and it's apparently the Chinese tradition to smoke during weddings. So you need to smoke as much as possible. It brings luck, I think, and it's you know, sometimes people would stick cigarettes into a bottle just to smoke as many cigarettes as possible at the same time. And it's really, I mean, it looks very authentic. So it really looks like a cigarette package, the same size. And also when you open it, it's so well printed, you don't really see it from the very beginning that it's not real, you know. So this can also be a concept.
So everything is possible.
Yeah. Dienacht Lab. So we have Dienacht Magazine, Dienacht Publishing, and Dienacht Lab. And Dienacht Lab, we do different things with Dienacht Lab. So I personally also do mentorings, like online mentorings with photographers who need help with the projects, or who need, I don't know, advice, or who want to make photo book, or who want to make an exhibition and so on. So they need some help with selection or with designing and so on. We also curate exhibitions. I also started curating exhibitions while I was doing the magazine, with works from the magazine, of course, with the photographers together. So sometimes I used to do single exhibitions in different places in Germany. Sometimes there were group exhibitions, and sometimes also with photography and illustration and design and graffiti sometimes. And also photo book exhibitions. This was an exhibition made in Burma, in Yangon, and in the capital of Burma. And it was, sorry, Yangon is not the capital of Burma, but it was in Yangon. And it was a topical exhibition, also with the help of Goethe Institute. And I will also make another photo book exhibition by the end of 2021, hopefully, in the Museum for Applied Arts in Leipzig. And Jana's, anyway, she's a curator. She has curated exhibitions in Moscow for a couple of years. So this is also what we do with Dienacht Lab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like the main focus of Dienacht Lab, which in general means that these are the educational activities of Dienacht. Yes, so any type of education, solo, private, like one-to-one. But also our main focus is of course making workshops of master classes, of for photographers who would like to make their own photo book. Yeah, and Dienacht like workshop map actually spans across many countries and continents. You see, yes, most of them here. So it's Europe, it's Asia, it's Mexico, Nigeria, Myanmar, Malaysia, Turkey, Russia, and many other countries. What we mostly do at our workshops is that we invite a group of photographers. It's usually from 5 to, let's say, 10 people, depending on how many days we have, which is usually also from 3 to 7 days, depending on the possibilities. And throughout those days, we work on making a dummy. A dummy is a kind of prototype of the book that you would like to publish, yes? So it's the book made in the original size, in the original number of pages, with hopefully the materials you would like to use, that you can then bring to the publisher, or if you want to self-publish, you can bring to the printer and say, so I would like it to have this way, and then you order materials and you have it done by the professionals, or maybe you bind yourself. Yeah, there are different ways to do that. So I will show some pictures from our latest workshops. This one was this year, which is amazing that we still had a live workshop this year in Bucharest, in Romania. It was a very nice space. So we started working with pictures, and first this is in Copenhagen. We discuss each participant's project together. It's always a group work because participants always need different perspectives. What we say is what we say. We might also not always agree, and that happens, but it's important to get an overall feedback. We show a lot of examples of books, those we showed today, and many more of other different publishers. Kalin shows a lot of materials, a lot of samples that you could use making your dummy, and eventually you can actually choose the exact paper you would like to have in your final book, and then just order it.
I think it's also important to say that, I think many photographers just don't know what's there. So I think also it's important to show what are the possibilities. So what kind of papers you can print on, and also when you go to certain places, people might say, okay, but we don't have these papers. I think papers are everywhere. All kind of papers are everywhere. You just need to have the focus to have the focus filter, the paper filter, to look up the paper, and then you'll see everything. What's there. And also happening in Yangon that I made this workshop there, and like the organizer said, but there's actually no paper here in Yangon. It's just white paper. And we went to the market and we found so many different papers. And
you mean
so
food
many
market?
No, I mean just like normal
Mm-hmm.
market. Yes. We found so many different papers in the shops, and I think it's about the focus, and it's also about have the knowledge. That's why we show so much, and sometimes it might be too much what we show. I think people are just like overwhelmed of how many possibilities there are, and they need to choose one or two or three, So, but I think it's important to know what's there in order to make decisions. So I think it's always better to have a choice than to have no choice.
Yeah. So this is one of the dummies made at also workshop last year in Copenhagen. So it basically looks like a book, but this is a dummy. It's not glued yet to the hardcover, but it's almost done. Yes, so it's already bound. There was also an exciting project which is actually combines photography with an audiobook. So it was a photo book with the possibility of listening something. Yeah, and it's a very exciting project. We hope that it can be published later. So this binding process that I always help to do, and Kalin helps, but eventually, if we have enough time, everybody does it by him or herself. Yeah, folding. Yeah. So these are examples of dummies that people get at the end of the workshop. It's from Mexico. This is from Slovenia. This is from Barcelona. Sometimes people make several dummies. So these are 3 dummies. Actually, there are more. Yeah, because the project had so many layers, had so many different stories. Kind of, we decided that it has to be a project with many different books. And this project is also, it's the same project, just with different types of covers. This is actually wooden, very soft wooden cover. And here is like a slipcase, yeah. And both of them actually work well. So at the workshop, you can find different ways. This is from Copenhagen. And yeah, so now when it's not actually always possible to give live workshops, which we really look forward to, it's also a great possibility to do online activities. And we're very happy that we can be here today with you. And we also planned together with our partners in Armenia an online masterclass about editing and sequencing, which is scheduled for the beginning and mid-January. So editing and sequencing would mean that we will work with photographers during 2 sessions on selecting from the body of work that photographer has, selecting pictures, choosing the right ones, understanding what's enough, what's not enough, what is necessary, what is relevant, what is irrelevant for the project, and eventually trying to sequence this in any type of publication a photographer would like to do. Either it is a kind of online portfolio or it's a book, something, yes, that can look like a narrative. So if you're interested, we're very happy to announce that event and invite you to our upcoming online masterclass at the beginning of the next year. So that's all. Thank you very much for being with us.
And now if you have any questions, we are still here to answer them. Yeah, thank you very much also from me for the possibility. And also thank you to our partners, Goethe Institute, In Situ, Creative Europe, Armenia. And yeah, it was a pleasure to have this webinar.
Thank you so much. That was really inspiring. And while we collect some of these questions, I can start off the Q&A session with a couple of my own questions that I think might be useful for our audience. We have a nice mix, mostly photographers, but also some curators and art historians, and as well as art lovers. So just passionate people about photography. I was wondering if you could share a little bit for photographers. How do you discover or go about selecting photographers for your projects?
It's I mean, there's never only one way. I think it's at the beginning, when I started with the magazine, I was just looking on websites. I think meanwhile, many people apply. It's also possible to be published on the website as well as with a portfolio. Many people apply also with dummies. We also meet people in the workshops as well, who we sometimes publish. We also meet a lot of people on fairs. I think fairs is a really great opportunity to just make connections. And yeah, it's a word that sounds so stupid, like to make connections, but it happened that we work now together with In Situ, because someone met us in Moscow.
Yes, who approached us in Moscow at Garage. That's how we are here.
Yeah.
Ended up, yeah. And I would like to really encourage, never hesitate to submit to our online portfolio, or we get a lot of submissions. We go through all of them, honestly. And yeah, we reply only to those which are of interest, but that's a way. We're working on some projects now, actually, that were submitted to us, just like this, without any previous contact or anything. So there can be any way, yes, or we just discover someone and see and offer. So all sorts of ways work.
Yeah, so I think it's not just, I mean, yeah, we also have some requirements in the website how you should submit. I think it's also important to somehow stick to them. And so, for example, we ask for a PDF. So I think it's important to stick to this PDF, because it's, for us, it's much easier to have an overview of the work instead of getting WeTransfer links or Dropbox links and so on. But yeah, there are many different ways.
That was my next question, is that if people were interested in reaching out to you and submitting projects, what would be your recommendation for how to do that? And as a follow-up to that, what is sort of the most common mistake that you see in terms of when people apply that that, you know, maybe they should have done something differently?
Most common mistake is that they don't follow the guidelines written on the website. That's all. It's pretty easy. Yeah. So sometimes we don't get the time to check all submissions like during a couple of months, but I get back to all of them, or Colleen gets back to all of them, and the links can just expire, and there is no way we can go through them. So we have guidelines on the website. They're very clear, nothing very special. So basically stick to them. It also says how many pictures, so we can get an idea, like over 15 idea of the project, and very basic, very clear, and I think doable by everyone. Just stick to them.
I think another common mistake is that you don't deal with the person you are submitting to. So I think, I mean, we don't publish fashion photography or architectural photography, and I got so many submissions of fashion photography, and I think that the photographer never checked our website, not even the website. I mean, never checked our books, never checked our magazine. So I think it's important to apply where you think you might have a chance. That it's important to apply with something that speaks our language in a way, and it also shows somehow it shows respect in a way, and also I think it's also important that if you apply, you don't apply like to everyone. I mean, sometimes also happens, and it's not that uncommon, that I got like mass emails, you know, saying like also being addressed with the wrong name sometimes, which of another publisher, and you know, and then I write back, you know, sorry, I'm not the publisher they actually you wrote to, and then you get answers like, yeah, sorry, it was my intern, you know, or my assistant who send the email out. But I think it's important to take care of who, that you apply in the wrong place, because you waste otherwise you waste everyone's time and energy. And
yeah. So we have one question from the group. Someone is asking, what would you say are the most iconic photo books published widely?
That's a tough one, I think. I personally don't have like favorite books of all times. I think I have favorite books for a certain period of time. Also, just because Photobooks is a very, I know, to me, it's a very personal decision, and it's important to like it, but I can connect with it in a way. So I can't say a title that is, I know, my all-time favorite. I would say it changes all the time. I don't know if you have something.
It's always a very personal choice. It's like you resonate with it. It's like listening to a song. You love it, and it's good for this time. And sometimes I want to get back to this book as I want to get back to a particular song. Sometimes I don't want to get back to it. It's a very personal, private, emotional choice. Yeah. So we don't really buy the books because they are historically important, for instance. Yeah. So if like we're not book historians, I thought that yes, maybe there are some pivotal books for the history of the medium. Yeah, but we don't. But we are very intuitive guys. Yes, and very emotional also in the way what we do, how we do that. So, and also this is how we also buy the books, choose them. Yeah. So I don't know if we have this. So this is our library. If we have really important books, yeah, they're important to us. Yes, so that would be our approach.
I mean, I'm also a very visual person. I think I just like books which work in a visual way, and I like books that inspire me or give me a view on things. But I don't have like, I don't know, historically important books. I think what's important are maybe this history of Photobooks book, I would say, because you get an overview of what was there. So there are 3 volumes by Martin Parr and Jerry Badger, I think. And I think these are very, I don't know, there are 3 of them. So I think they're very important books for like getting an overview and getting a feeling. Or they also deal with historical books and with classical books, but also with contemporary books.
We can give a link afterwards.
Yeah, I think that would be great if even all of the examples that you discussed today if you could maybe put that list together, and we can share that with all of the attendees so they can go and research further as a reference, that might be helpful. Mm-hmm. I had another question about the materials. You mentioned that this was a question that came up even from our side, from the Armenia context, that we don't have the vast possibility of resources in terms of paper quality. And you mentioned that you can find paper in unexpected places and make really original objects. But my question is, when you find a particular paper, for example, at a market, and you're able to make an original, let's say, a photo book object, how does that then translate once you scale up and have to make several editions? Because it's one thing if you're using unique materials to make one unique object, but if you're making a series of, I don't know how many editions, from 300 you said up to 1,000 you've done, it becomes a little bit more complicated to source those materials. Do you have a way that you approach that question?
Well, I think if you look for doing something unique, so on a unique object, I think it doesn't make sense to make a huge print run. So then it needs to stay unique, I think. And otherwise, I think it's of course it's always possible to print outside. I mean, there are great printers in, I don't know, in Turkey or in Europe, of course, like in
Lithuania.
Lithuania. So I think there are great places to work with everywhere. So it's, if you can't find it in Armenia, then you can find it somewhere else. And it's about it's always about also finding ways to I mean, everything is possible in the end, and it's about finding ways to produce the book that you want to make. And it's, if it doesn't work the way you imagine it, then it will work another way, which is not worse, it's just different. So I think it's also about finding alternatives. But I think it's maybe you would just want to, if you find this nice material, you would just want to make a special book, which is an edition of 10 or 20 or 40, and it also has its value.
Yeah, I also thought that there is also quite common practice that you have a print run and you have special edition, and that this might be like, if you have very special paper from the market, which is several pieces, you can keep it as a special edition. So it can also be part of your print run, but can be a special thing inside your print run, which you can sell for more or with a print. Yeah, so it does not need to be so homogeneous, the whole print run. Yeah, can be, sometimes publishers make the special edition books, like those, like 10 are handmade with special paper, some alternative cover, yeah, and a print.
I think this book with a wooden box, this roll in a wooden box of this Japanese guy, Kosuko Okahara, I think it's a good example. I mean, you can't do this wooden box in edition of 1,000 copies. So it was a choice to make it in a small print run. So I think it's the way to approach publishing or self-publishing. Mm-hmm. I know somehow I understand that people want to have a huge print run, but it's sometimes the projects are so special or so sophisticated, it doesn't make sense to have a huge print run, just because I don't know, it's, if they are sophisticated, then they might be so expensive that you cannot sell 1,000 copies, you know.
Mm-hmm. And we have a question from one of the panelists about the process of applying to upcoming workshops. So Hrant is interested in participating in the January workshop, and he's asking how do you select, and if you can talk a little bit more about the workshop application process.
The Armenian one?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically I think it's already on the website, Anna, if I'm right. Yeah, so I think that the best way is to maybe you can publish now a link so you can really read through all the details. I don't have it in mind. I think it's also applying with at least 15 images. Yes, because it's about sequencing some work. It means that there should be a certain amount of works to work with. Yeah, and it also says all the details how to apply. I think it's WeTransfer this time. I'm just not sure right now. Yeah, and applying with your body of work with a concise text about your work, and being ready actually to really dedicate this time to this workshop. It's a 2-session workshop. Yeah, and so there are all possibilities that you get there. I think it's for 6 people or 5-6 people, right? Something
Yeah,
like that.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
correct. And we have some thank you comments from fans from Mexico.
And there is
oh,
also another question. Have you
go ahead.
seen that? There is another question in the live. They are asking about the list of the photo books that that are in stock now. Is there such an information for people?
Not now, but we can make it, and so can be posted alongside this.
What do you mean? What do you mean in stock?
They want to see the list of the photo books that are in stock now. That's how the question.
In stock or in the talk?
In stock. They
That
want
you have available, that you haven't sold out
Market.
completely of.
Okay.
You can see them on the website. There you have this link publishing on the website, and you can see on the website everything we publish and everything which is also still available by now.
Yeah, but you need to go to every book to see if it's available. That's how it works. Yeah, so there is no possibility to choose like what's in stock. Just check the book, and
well,
you'll
I think
see
in the shop. So there are actually two things on the website. One is the shop, and then I think you can see which books or magazines are sold out, and there's the publishing where you have only the books with special editions with print.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I think that's wrapping up for questions. Vartagi, do you have anything else that you see?
No questions, but Kachik wanted to make a comment, so maybe you can
Okay, Khachik, I will turn on your microphone. If you will be speaking in Armenian, make sure you stay on the Armenian channel so that our translator can interpret in English for our panelists and vice versa.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hi Khachik.
Yes, first off, thank you so much for the presentation. Absolutely beautiful work. I'm a graphic designer, so Kalin and Yana, I really love the works that you did. Very inspirational. I have one question regarding the design. I really love editorial design personally, and I love to work in them. So the works that I've seen you guys do, the majority don't have any like type in the books, like you said, because Colin doesn't like type in the book. He just likes pictures, and they speak for themselves. So I was going to ask, because personally I think if you have a photo and so just probably a sentence or even a couple of words under the like a caption, they narrow down the idea or concept of the photo or the story behind it, and it makes it more powerful. So I want to understand, is it your personal choice? And I want to understand your perspective of why you only use just photos and empty white space in the pages, because I know you understand that you started graphic design as well. So it's very interesting to me that why do you use so much negative space and white space and leave I didn't even see page numbers, so that was really weird for me too. So, so that's very interesting. I want to know as well, because I'm actually working on 2 photo books as well right now with my photographer girlfriend. So this is very interesting that this presentation webinar was right on time for me. So please, can you answer my question? Thank you.
Yeah, so it's not that I hate text. I mean, we have some books that actually need text, like this book, Chronicle. It has actually text at the beginning, but it's also hidden a little bit between covers, you know. So there's text, and also in Rebel Writers, there's also a description of the project on the one side, which is at the very beginning. And then you also have this newspaper with a lot of text. So I wouldn't say that in general it's I don't like text, but I think since I think we both are very visual persons, maybe we just tend to to choose projects that are visual in the first place. And I think it's not, and they don't need to be explained. And of course, there are some pictures which need text, or some series which need text. And there are some pictures which need captions as well. But I think but not usually not the pictures that we publish. So it's nothing bad about text, or it's nothing bad about captions, but it's just not what we used to publish until now. And I think many times texts are, when pictures speak for themselves, I think texts are unnecessary, I would say. And yeah, about the white space or about negative space, it totally depends on the projects. I mean, we also publish books with just full bleed pictures, but sometimes we publish books with a lot of white space when the pictures are more fragile, or they need some space to breathe, or it's so individual. It's so much depending on the projects. And yeah, there was also the question about page numbers.
That never happens.
Yeah, I think it really never happens. That I don't remember publishing a book with page numbers. I think it's also unnecessary. I mean, unless of course you have an index by the end of the book where you say, okay, page this is the picture, and maybe you have a caption along with the picture. But otherwise, I think it's.
But even then, sorry, you don't necessarily need a page number. You can have a small picture and then like what you want to say about it. So I personally think, why would I need a number of the page on a photo book? Why would I need, if it's a kind of catalog, which is a different kind of genre of a book, yeah, maybe I would need to find something. So for me, it's a very practical thing that I need for some reason. Otherwise, it is very disturbing. It is some fact on a page which draws attention to itself. Why would I need that? Do I need to count? Does it matter that it's like page 3 or 10? No, it doesn't. Then it becomes disturbing. So it's really about eliminating everything that's not necessary. Yeah, so I think it's a very kind of classical maybe approach. We're used to this classical coffee table big books. Yes, that. But when we look at them, sometimes we can find that many things are really unnecessary, and just there is much more air and space for the work itself without this. Yeah, and I think also, yeah, we choose this type of projects that maybe don't need a lot of talks about them, but we don't really publish, let's say, conceptual photography, at least until now, but that would be necessary for conceptual photography to have a text in the introduction. Yeah, so I think we still have a tendency, yes, to just to choose the work which probably does not need that much explanation.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we also have this, like in Chris' book, we also have this just little poem written by himself.
Here is no even title.
Yeah, not even title.
Yeah, and that's also exciting. So this can also be a way to approach the book. Then you see it on the table and you don't know what it is, and you have to go through it to find it in the middle, in visible ways.
Yeah.
So again, as Kalin said, everything is a choice and everything is a language.
And I think it's also, I mean, this probably also the way we approach photo book workshops or editing and sequencing. When we make workshops, we try to get rid of everything that's unnecessary. So not to show as many pictures as possible, but to think, okay, what to reduce more and more and more and more. So to get to the core of the project.
Yes, I understand. Thank you for the answer. I just wanted that perspective because I as well think that, and what you guys do actually, you take the book and turn it into the whole design, the concept is going through different mediums. For example, you're checking in with the visual medium of the person and the sound and the touch, the texture of the paper, because I think that's very important as well. Because if a person also feels the texture of the paper, that's very, very important because that's what they connect to as well. So that's very, very interesting. The executions of the books are very perfect and beautiful. I love them. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We've got another question there by Rebecca from Mexico, I guess. So should I read the question loud? Yeah. So she's asking about co-investing. The question is whether Dienacht co-invests with artists in order to publish the book.
We used to finance all the books by ourselves.
Which made us bankrupt.
Well, not bankrupt, but yeah, it's not possible to publish as much as we want. So actually, we don't directly ask for money or for investment, but actually we try to find a way to finance the book through crowdfunding before, or to ask the photographers to, I don't know, to apply to a grant, or to, I know in their countries, maybe there's some publishing grants or some grants for photographers that they can somehow, share or.
Now we're actually applying for the German grant to publish photographer from another country. Yes, so we now try to find ways to co-finance our projects. Yes, but yeah, not through the photographer, but with the help of us and the photographer together, because otherwise it's getting impossible.
Yeah, it's not that we say to the photographer, okay, you need to give us money, otherwise we won't publish the book. So it's not like this. We try to find out possibilities to raise some money before we go to print.
Yeah, or we have pre-sales also when it's also not a totally huge project, and we know that we can get, by pre-selling, we can get the money for publishing the book. And this is how we did several times. This is also a way.
So again, many thanks to Kalina and Jana, our panelists, for this really inspiring and informative presentation. Thank you to our attendees for following the talk and for your questions. You can find more information about Dienacht and their work on their own website. We will share all the links here in the chat, but it's also posted on our website at hayp.insitu.com, where we have information about this webinar, but also the upcoming workshop that we'll have in January. Thank you to Hachik for interpreting for us this evening, to Creative Europe for providing this technical support, and again to Goethe for making this happen.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.